Today is Thursday, February 8th, and this is a special edition of the Lancer Life as we celebrate the Eagles Lombardi Trophy Parade. And I'm celebrating with this guy right here. I gotta do some magic so you can see that because of the sun. Next on the Lancer Life. Today is not so much about the cigar, although we're going to talk about the cigar. No, today is like a historic day. Now, many of you who've been following me for a while know I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a Philly homeboy, Temple proud, Philly Eagles. I'm a 4 for 4 guy. 4 for 4 in Philly means you're for the Phillies, for the Flyers, for the Sixers, and of course you're for the Eagles. Despite what people think, this town, despite Big 5 basketball and all the famous talent that's come out of here, and Allen Iverson and Wilt Chamberlain and Dr. J and all the famous guys come through here, despite the fact that the Phillies have won 2 World Series, despite the Flyers way back in the days in the 70s when they were known as the Broad Street Bullies, won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups. Everybody in the Delaware Valley knows that this is an Eagles town. And so that's why I'm celebrating with a nice Cuban cigar that was gifted to me by my nephew who owns the Traveling Tobacconist. Go to my website, www.thelancerlife.com, under cigar shops, and if you see this banging behind cigar trailer, that's my nephew's cigar trailer. Whew. It's a celebration. One of the things I've said before is I'm looking for reasons to smoke my really good high-end cigars, and I couldn't think of anything better to celebrate this parade, this day, this time in Philadelphia than with this Ramone Allones. So let's talk about this. The Allones brothers, there were 2 of them, immigrated to Cuba from Spain. I think they did in around 1837, and by 1845, 49, somewhere in that time frame, they began producing cigars, Cuban cigars. They were among the pioneers in putting nice designs on boxes and great labels on the bands. I mean, this was from those guys. I'm gonna have to make some adjustments here so you can see that label, because it is a nice bright day here, but you're not going to see that right with that current setting. So they were the guys that began to do that. And in fact, if you look at some other boxes like the Cuban Monte Cristo, it's a very simple wooden box that's got a brand in it. I mean, it's not really all that great. So they began doing the stuff with the art. I'm gonna have to adjust this so you can see the big fella. And they were producing cigars until the revolution. Well, they were making the cigars at one point in the Partagas factory in Cuba, because they're one of the smaller. They're a good, well-known Cuban brand, not well-known here in the United States. They don't have an extensive line like we know from Monte Cristo and Romeo and Julieta and other big brands, but that's neither here nor there. But they've been around for a while is the key. Now, one of their versions was one of the top cigars, the Cigar Aficionado 2017. This is not that one. This cigar is about a 52 gauge by by 5.5, and I've never smoked one. So we're going to get down with this thing together. So let me take it light. Depending on where you go to get your information, you're going to hear that the cigar is medium bodied, you're going to hear it's medium to full body, you're going to hear that the cigar is full body. It's literally all over the place. And I don't think the information that we get on Cuban cigars, unless somebody knows a great website and can send it to me, it's pretty sparse because of the lack of availability. I think there's a lack of American information on Cuban cigars because where they're sold, they don't necessarily speak the English. So once you move away from the more popular, trendy blends, it's a little tougher. Now, I'm going to tell you right here at the infant stage of smoking this, I'm getting a nice wheat, toasty, nutty note. There's a little bit of what I would term that sassafrasy, herbal, traditional flavor that I get from a Cuban cigar. It's like a sassafras Cuban flavor, but so far, and again, I'm only that much in, very, very faint. But already this far in the cigar, I know this is not a Dominican, Nicaraguan, Honduran, Mexican. This is something different, and that's the first thing that I want out of a Cuban cigar. I don't want a Cuban cigar to taste anything else. Everybody says their cigars are Cubanesque. You never hear Cuban saying they're making a Dominicanesque or Nicaraguan nest or Honduran-esque cigar from Cuba. Nope. Cuban cigars taste like Cuban cigars, and everybody else is trying to make their cigars like Cuban. Absolutely, like a wheat bread toast, not a white bread toast, because I say that because that those whole grain bread is going to give you a little more of that nuttiness, and there's definitely some hints of that in this cigar. Can't tell you how much it costs, but I would bet you're going to get tagged up a minimum of $15 for this stick, only because of the size. I'm thinking a Churchill of this cigar is going to run you, if there are any, I haven't checked up all the sizes, there's only a handful of sizes, but I'm sure you're going to get touched up for about $18-20 for anything larger than this. I'm really not quite sure what size this is. When I got it, it was a Lucy, and so I measured it out, and it came in at about, like I said, a 52 ring gauge. It's about 5 and change inches long. so I don't know exactly which one this is. Now, the person that this comes from is a Cuban national. I'm sitting here looking at that band. That band is absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna get that in there again, see if I can hide that. Like, that is all raised. Screw that. Let's go to the cigar. The band is raised, and with the sun bouncing off of it, you can see the absolute depth and incredible craftsmanship of the label. I mean, this label is beautiful. You see, nice cap, foot, little damage, little beat up. This didn't come just factory fresh out of a box, and that's going to happen. I'm tired of apologizing for it, but you will see this little spot here on the side here at about that middle third level. Don't know what that's from. It could simply be some of the cornstarch that they use to keep the label on. Maybe something spilled off while they were putting this joker together. Not gonna kill them for that. So, because of the name of this, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of sports fans. I'm hoping so anyway. Long-suffering is the word that I would use to describe the Philadelphia Eagle fan base. And there aren't that many fan bases that can relate to it. But over recent times, I can tell you a handful who know what I mean. Back in the early 2000s, the Boston Red Sox fan. That is a storied, historical franchise that dates back into the early 1900s that ain't never won nothing. It's a major metropolitan area here on the East Coast. They've been getting their behinds whacked by the Yankees so long that they had Y's on their backside, because the Yankees would just brand a Y on their behind, beat them up, get them out, and go and win World Series. The other fan base that's a long-suffering fan base that finally got the taste of victory 2 years ago are the lovable Cubs. Who didn't like a stinking Cubs fan? Because they've been dealing with that team getting smacked forever. I remember the closest they got was in the 80s when Ryan Sandberg was on the team. It was just wishful thinking. The Philadelphia Eagles are like those fans. Last time the Eagles won a championship was in the pre-Superbowl era in 1964. That happens to be the year I was born. And it's just been a gut-wrenching experience for your whole adult life to go through a season of football and end up empty-handed. Well, every dog has his day. We were the underdogs. And, well, I've moved a little further down the road. Definitely a Cuban cigar. You can tell by that gray ash. Not super complex, but very well. No, that's not right. It's a fairly complex cigar. Good, flavorful. Just a completely different animal. This is a cigar that you can enjoy with a cup of coffee. You don't necessarily need to fill yourself up to enjoy it, but it's a real good cigar. Good celebratory stick. Well, this is going to be a day of some reflection. I'm going to sit down with the fellas, lean back, get myself something to sip on, And we're going to enjoy the parade. We're going to bask in the glory of this day. It literally has come around only once in a lifetime. And that's how you got treated. So, I've talked long enough. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles!
Man, if I get rocked for my kids, is that real?
Even though what we do is wrong,
We still hustle till the sun come up. Crack a 40 when the sun go down. It's a cold winter.